Welcome to the very first episode of Caution Caveman Cooking's C3TV. I'm Mark Caveman Avery, and each week we're going to dish up some delicious recipes that are so easy, even well, you know, can do it. This time around, it's going to be one of the Cave Clan's favorite dishes, Dutch oven R&R pulled pork. I know what you're asking. What does R&R stand for? Rest and relaxation? Rock and roll? Well, while all of those sound good, in this case, R&R stands for root beer and rum. Of course, if you've ever been to a bar or frat party, rum and coke is a more familiar combination. But trust me when I tell you that this sauce brings a unique and delectable flavor to this traditional dish, which, by the way, is done in the oven. So if it's too cold or even too hot to be outside barbecuing, you can still enjoy some great grill flavor anytime. Now on this episode, you're actually going to get 3 recipes in one show. First, we need to put together our barbecue rub-a-dub, a very special rub that was developed just for this dish. Get a small mixing bowl and throw in 3 tablespoons of paprika, 2 tablespoons of ancho chili powder, 2 tablespoons of chipotle chili powder, 2 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of sea or kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of dried chopped or minced garlic, a half a teaspoon of red crushed chili pepper, and a half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. That's it. Just whisk it all together and you should be good to go. Just be sure to set aside 2 full tablespoons because we're going to need that later on to make the R&R barbecue sauce. Now, set the rub aside and grab your meat. A lot of folks like to use a Boston butt for their pulled pork recipe. And while Boston butt is fun to say, I prefer to call it a bone-in pork shoulder roast instead, for obvious reasons. But, no pun intended, no matter what you call it, it's still the same cut of meat. Just make sure you have 5 or 6 pounds of it so that there's plenty of yummy leftovers. Unless, of course, you're going to be feeding a huge hungry horde of cave people. Just give it a quick rinse under some cold water. Meat good. Lightly pat it dry, or just let it drip dry and place it on a large platter. Now, generously sprinkle the rub we made over the entire cut of meat. Make sure to get all the sides and ends. Then cover it snugly with some plastic wrap, and then go ahead and rub the rub into the meat. Some folks like to rub it in with their bare hands. Very caveman-esque, yes, but you end up taking a bunch of the rub off of the meat and onto your hands. And unless you plan on marinating your hands overnight and then slow cooking them the next day, it's a real waste. Believe it or not, we're done for the day. That's because we gotta let the meat marinate for at least 12 hours, though I prefer 24 to 36. The longer the better in my book. Just put it in the fridge until 20 minutes before you're ready to start cooking. Speaking of which, when we come back, that's exactly what we're gonna start to do. For more on the dish we are featuring today, or for a bunch of other great, delicious, and easy recipes, just go to the Caution Caveman Cooking website at cavemancooking.net. You'll find step-by-step illustrated instructions that will walk you through everything from soups to salads, side dishes to main dishes, and hors d'oeuvres to desserts. Stop by and say hi at cavemancooking.net. Welcome back to Caution Caveman Cooking's C3TV. Today we're doing R&R Dutch oven pulled pork. It's such a good recipe. Now we've already made the rub and we've marinated the meat overnight. We're ready to start cooking. So let's just preheat the oven to 300 degrees. Now we gotta slice up a medium onion, I prefer sweet, and about 4 or 5 large cloves of garlic. We're going to take a Dutch oven and line the bottom of it with half the onions and garlic. Now we'll place the meat on top of that and cover it with the rest of the garlic and onions. We'll throw the cover on the Dutch oven and put it in the oven for about 7 hours or so. You want to allow for 1¼ hours for each pound of meat. Most importantly, once it's in the oven, don't peek. The key to slow cooking is a nice even temperature over the entire course of cooking it. Of course, after about an hour or so, your house is going to start to smell terrific, so you might be tempted to look. but don't. While the meat cooks, we have plenty of time to make the R&R barbecue sauce. So let's get started on that. You're gonna need about a 3.5 quart saucepan. We're gonna fill it with 2 cups of root beer, 2 cups of ketchup, 2 tablespoons of the barbecue rub-a-dub we set aside earlier, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar, 4 tablespoons or a 1/4 cup of molasses, 1 teaspoon of red crushed pepper, and a 1/2 teaspoon each of cayenne pepper and kosher or sea salt. And of course, 3 ounces of dark Caribbean rum. Mix it all together really well and then bring it to a gentle boil over a medium-high flame. Then turn the heat down and let the sauce simmer for about 2 hours uncovered because we want to let it reduce down a little bit. And be sure to stir it every 15 minutes or so. When the meat is done, pull it from the oven and let it stand for about 15 minutes or so. It should look something like this with a nice bark on the outside. When it has cooled down a bit, place the pork on a large platter. Now, it's time to pull the pork. Wait, that's pull the socks. You don't need any fancy dance moves to pull the pork. Just a couple of these. The meat should be super tender by now and pull apart really easily. Just separate all the fat and bones from the meat. Now, from the bottom of the Dutch oven, drain any fat that might be remaining inside, but keep the rest of the juices in there. Go ahead and put the meat back inside and then add 2 cups of the R&R barbecue sauce. Mix it together really good. Now, just cover the Dutch oven again and put it back in the oven for about 15 more minutes. Now, we're ready to eat. Our favorite way is to take a Kaiser roll, slap a big scoop of the pulled pork on it, put some coleslaw on top of that, and drizzle some of the R&R barbecue sauce on top. You can also make pulled pork tacos. Those are really good. Or even serve it over some steamed rice or in an omelet. Let's give it a go, shall we? The meat is super tender and filled with a sweet yet tangy flavor. Plus the coleslaw gives it a nice crunch and an amazing flavor of its own. Oh, this is fantastic. Phenomenal. Sorry, you're gonna have to make your own. This one's mine. Meat very good. Thanks for joining us on our initial episode. I'm Mark Caveman Avery, and I'll see you next time for more easy and delicious recipes on Caution Caveman Cooking's C3TV. I'm eating. Some easy recipes. Thanks for playing. This time around, it's going to be one of the Actually going to get 3 recipes in one show. That's 2. No fit. Don't.
Hello? Hello? Is this thing on?